Good evening to all. Welcome to SMPTE Toronto. Tonight, the evening meeting is sponsored by SMPTE Toronto. And at the end of this meeting, you are going to know a lot more about SMPTE standard. The order of the day, meeting is arranged by Angèle Rochelot-Bourgeois, Nathan Bentley, and Randy Conroy. Our evening protocol, each presenter will share their experiences and new development on SMPTE standard. Question will be after each presentation. Participant can send in their questions during the presentation on the Zoom portal box, and there will be no break. So I will give the control to Nathan.
Hello, everybody. So tonight we're going to have presentations from David Grindle, Executive Director of SMPTE. David will tell us about recent SMPTE announcements and future endeavors. And Lee Whitcomb. Lee participates in the SMPTE, VSF, and AIMS standards committees. Lee will provide a summary of the changes, including those to the ST2110 and ST2059 families and the new SMPTE standards website. So David Grindle is SMPTE's Executive Director, having joined the Society in 2022. He has more than a decade of experience leading associations that focus on science and engineering that intersect with art. He carries the Certified Association Executive designation from the American Society of Association Executives. He is an advocate of being engaged with our membership and listening to determine what their unique needs are and finding ways to help meet them. With a background in opera stage management, he brings a unique history of finding solutions to interesting challenges. Over the last year, SMPTE has been asking its members what they would like to have as member benefits. Top among these was access to the standards in education. Since January 1st, 2024, this is a reality. David will take us through how standards are accessed, where to find things in our member portal, and preview additional changes that are planned for the continued improvement of the member experience.
So without further delay, I will give the command to David.
Hi, everyone. Greetings to you from the other side of Lake Ontario. I actually live in upstate New York. And thank you. Yesterday's weather for you is my today's weather. So I appreciate all you do to prepare it for us. I thought I'd start by sharing with a new video that we have sort of promoting some of the changes we've got coming at SMPTE.
I'm SMPTE.
I'm SMPTE.
I am SMPTE.
I am SMPTE.
I am SMPTE.
I'm David Grindle, the Executive Director at the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers. For more than 100 years, SMPTE has been a leader in the media technology industry, and we want you to join us for the next century of innovation.
Today, SMPTE has over 800 standards that make media workflows more efficient and produce higher quality content. And now, all of these standards are available as part of your SMPTE membership. But it doesn't stop there. Newer SMPTE standards include groundbreaking ST2110, the future of IP transport for video, audio, and data. And for virtual productions, SMPTE has Rapid Industry Solutions, or RIS. These are areas, along with AI and microservices, where SMPTE will continue to be the media technology leader, benefiting all of our members. SMPTE also provides the media technology industry with continuing education opportunities. Our members get access to these courses, including reduced price on instructor-led courses and self-study courses that are a part of your membership. At our core, SMPTE is a global community, and members get access to the benefits of that community, including events, marketing opportunities, and our premier publication, the Motion Imaging Journal.
We are SMPTE, and we want you to be SMPTE too.
So that's just a little moment there to give you an idea of what we're trying to do to to promote some of these changes with SMPTE. Pardon me while I'm over here also running tech in the background. So one of the things that we've done in the last year is really gotten out and asked people, go away. Sorry about that. Glad for the applause, but that wasn't intended. We've been trying to ask our members what it is you guys are looking for and what do you need. And the number one thing that came back was we want access to standards without paying extra for them. And we'd really like access to education. And so that, along with a revamp of the Motion Imaging Journal, have really become one of our major initiatives for the coming year. So I wanted to take people through what they can do to get access to these benefits. So the new benefits coming around, again, access to the full standards library, including the history, access to our self-paced learning modules. We cut the member cost of instructor-led courses by greater than 50%. And then for the first time in about 10 years, we got reader feedback, and you will soon see a revised format for the Motion Imaging Journal, both in print and online. The key to getting to these online activities, of course, is our member portal at SMPTE.org. And so for you as members, this member login button up here at the top is the first step to getting access to all of these things. It's going to take you to a page for logging in. If you have a membership in SMPTE, if you have had a membership in SMPTE in the last 8 years, we probably have your email in the system. So go ahead down here at the bottom, come on, and click on the forgot your password after you put your email in. That's going to help you reset your password on this system if you've not done it before. The old system that was married to IEEE has now come to an end, so we'll need to reset passwords there. If you run into a problem with this, reach out to us. We can also run into the back end of the system and hard reset the password for you. Every person, member or non-member, has to go through the process of creating an account in our system. So once you have logged in, it's going to take you to this page, which is your personal snapshot until we can come up with a better name for it. Any suggestions, please put them in the chat. But this tells you the information we have on you. So from this page, you would be able to scroll down the page and renew your membership if you wanted to. If you are the company manager overseeing a group of corporate members, this is where you go to manage your corporate memberships as well. But for today, I really want to focus on this navigation bar on the left. The navigation bar allows you, at the top it says edit my profile. That allows you to update your information with us. My affiliations, we'll come back to that. It'll get used later in the system when we get some new things up and running. The my downloads and my registrations, those are where going to be pretty important for you. My payment methods, one of the new things that we haven't really started promoting, but for our individuals, we're now going to a subscription option. You can still pay annually, or you can pay on a monthly renewal. And to do that, you need to store a credit card. So that's where you would store them in my payment methods. My scheduled payments allow you to see that what is coming up. The standards library If you are logged in as a member, this will take you to a library where you can click to standards, but we're going to talk about the store. Security and login allows you to reset your own passwords. We'll come up on virtual classroom and digital library. My committees will be renamed and reused later for sections. And then if you've taken classes with us before, you'll also see my professional development, and that's where you'll be able to get your certificates showing that you have completed and passed our courses. On the personal snapshot page in the top is a little button for a store. And if you click on that, this is where you get to be able to access the entire standards library. Standards are still available to non-members. I had a guy come in last week and buy $250 worth of standards instead of an $880 membership. I can't do anything about that. But as you'll see on these, you'll see a retail price and you'll see a member price. During the pandemic, SMPTE made a series of suites of standards available at no cost, and we've kept it that way. So if they were made available at no cost to the general public, they remain no cost to the general public. But you'll see that the retail price and may vary, but the member price is set to $0. The library was created through a lot of work by Pierre Lemieux. And one of the things you'll notice is that complete families are listed by their number. So the 12 SMPTE time and control code will take you to the entire family of standards for time and control code. You can also download them one by one if you only need an individual one. There is a search function with 946 documents in there. Enter what you're looking for in the search bar and it'll pull it up. And then all you have to do is click on the square of the one you're wanting to purchase. So for an example, I chose the 2016 family. So it's everything there. Because I was logged in as a member, you see that it has a $0 price. Where it says added, that actually will say add to cart. You click on it and you get to added. Then if you need other standards, go back and click on store again and it'll take you in there. You can keep adding families, adding individual standards, whatever you need. Once you're done with your last one, if you click on view cart, it'll take you and show you everything that you've done. There's no charge for members for standards, so there's no reason to go through a payment processing. You just have to submit the order. After you've submitted the order, you'll see this on your page, and you'll also get an email to the email address on file. You can click where it says download. Our standards library is a living, breathing document. As Lee will tell you, we're updating standards and you will always see the updated versions in the library. So what the download gives you is access to a web page. Here's what that web page would look like with hyperlinks for each of the 5 documents in the 2016 standard family. And you've got then the ability to click on those and it takes you to an HTML or PDF, depending on where we are in the conversions, and you're able to download or save those documents. All of your purchase history is maintained back in this personal snapshot. And so when you go back here where it says My Downloads, if you click on My Downloads, it'll take you to a screen here. I, for some reason, managed in 2 different test versions to download this 2016 family twice. So I have it in my document library twice. By being able to do that, when you hit that download button, it takes you right back over to the web page that has the family of standards that you're looking for. And again, it is always updated and always has the history that you need if you need an older version because something's working on an old version of a standard. On your personal snapshot page, it really helps you get around to the things you'll need on the website. If you'll notice at the top, it says upcoming events and classes. If you want to take one of our self-paced or instructor-led courses, that's where you click, and it takes you over to our upcoming events. The self-study courses, because they're perpetually open to everyone, are always going to be at the top. And so let's say I wanted to take the ATSC 3.0 self-study course. If I click on View by the course, it takes me over to a course description. And by clicking Register at the top, here's the only step I wish I could get rid of. You have to tell them you're going to be an attendee. This is there if we had speakers or other type of registrations. You click Next. And then we do have to confirm that you are the person who is actually going to take the course. You then go into the same checkout mode, and it will take you through. Back on the personal homepage, the virtual classroom is your access to it anytime you need it. Once you've completed the course, My Professional Development will appear at the bottom, and it will have your certificates of completion showing that you've passed the course. If you're working in our standards community, access to the standards community is here in the navigation tab as well. So that's just a little bit of an introduction for you into what we have. In addition to the work that we're doing with standards and with classes, Motion Imaging Journal over time will come to include not only peer-reviewed research, but we will start adding in use cases. We had a fair number of people comment back and say they really would like to see some application of how these things work. And then finally, the biggest hurdle I'm trying to get over from a technology point of view and a legal structural point of view, it's my goal in 2024 that SMPTE be able to take membership payments in currencies other than US dollars. And so we're building a separate portal for membership for each of those currencies, with Canadian dollar, of course, being nearest, dearest, and closest to home, quite literally. But as those roll out, we'll certainly be working with the sections and letting everyone know about that. Jeff, I see you've got a hand up. I'm supposed to be able to there. Apparently I get to allow you to speak. But if you can unmute, I'd be happy to answer any questions folks have about access to these things.
Actually, David, it's Randy. I don't think that was a question at this point.
Ah, okay.
I think maybe it was a raised hand by mistake. Anyhow,
That's okay.
I'll keep an eye on things for you there.
That's all right. You can tell I'm used to running the meeting on that side of it and being less of the presenter. But you know, as we're looking for opportunities for getting things into people's hands, I know that we're trying really hard to get information to you as in as many different ways as possible. The new online library of motion imaging journal will have an access link over to standards for members. We went for so many years with it being a challenge to get them that now we're trying to make it as available as possible in as many ways as possible. So, questions on where things are going, how things are going, or comments on things we can do to make things a little easier for you as our members?
So, David, it's Randy Conrad, and hello, everybody. I'm just one of the managers here helping out tonight. And I haven't seen any questions come in, David. I personally just want to make one comment to when I went in to do my password and it didn't work. I dropped an email back and I got an answer just like that. So I just wanted to say, a quick response is always at a headquarters, right? And thank you for that. And I have one question. I remember when the IEEE thing happened back when we got access, I believe, I can't remember which level of membership, but we could search the journal back to the first journal because they had gone back and digitized them all.
Yes.
Do we still right now, can I go in and search back to that first journal again?
You can't get back to the first one, but you can get back through the immediate last 10 years. And we're working on getting we still have the digitized files. So we're spinning those up as we can get them in a decade at a time. But yes, we'll get you back to that ability, Randy.
Okay, thanks very much. And I think what we'll do at this point is I'm going to hand back off to Lawrence, and we're going to continue, and we'll come back at the end for another question and answer session. So send your questions in, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, so Lee Whitcomb is our next presenter. He's a 32-year veteran of the professional broadcast. Let me finish that sentence. Industry. All right, so Lee Whitcomb is a 32-year veteran of the professional broadcast industry, spending most of his career at Imagine Communications. He participates in SMPTE, IEEE, and Video Services Forum Standards Committees, including previously serving as the co-chair of SMPTE 32NF Network Facilities Architecture Technology Committee. He is actively involved in SMPTE ST 2110 Professional Media over Managed IP Networks and SMPTE ST 2059 Genlock over IP. He became a SMPTE Fellow in 2017. His other professional affiliations include Professional Engineers of Ontario, and he is the co-inventor of several patents in the areas of network and timing and synchronization. Over the last year, there have been updates to many of the critical standards for the professional broadcast industry. Lee will provide a summary of the changes, including those to the ST 2110 and ST 2059 families and the new SMPTE standards website.
Lee, you can share.
Okay, can you see my screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
thanks for the introduction there, Lawrence. Okay. Yeah, so as Lawrence mentioned, I'll be sort of covering the new SMPTE website, although David did a nice job of that, so I'll just say one or two words on that, and then give you some updates on 2059 and 2110. So as David mentioned, we're moving from the IEEE Explore website to the new SMPTE website. And the other big change there is it's free to members. It is sort of an evolving system. So things like if you go to the standards document on the top SMPTE website, this will actually take you to the old Explorer website. So you need to sort of log into your SMPTE account, and from there, if you get access to that link, which will bring you to the SMPTE version of them. So there's what the old IEEE Explorer looked like. And then you'd have to be logged into an institution or whatever to get access to be able to download them for free. And then as David showed, here's the new SMPTE store. And if you're a member, they're free. And if you're not a member, there's a small charge. So that's definitely from an end user point of view, a great improvement on the SMPTE standard. So now everyone can use them. So that's a good thing. So just looking specifically at some of the standards families, what's kind of happened in the last year. So looking at the 2059, so this is the Genlock over IP standard. So we published our second study group report, which I'll talk about in a bit more. The Yang data model, so this is a consistent way to have parameters on the devices. So it's an RP 2059-15, so it's about to be published. And then some ongoing work we have is there's a new version of IEEE 1588, which is kind of the core behind the 2059 standard. And it was updated in 2019, which is a few years ago now, but not a lot of people have moved to the new version. And the new version was, in theory, designed to be backwards compatible with the 2008 version, the version 2.0. Unfortunately, there are some incompatibilities, and they specifically impact the SMPTE TLV message. So this is what's sort of defined in the 2059-2 document. So we're in the process now of updating the 2059-2 to sort of update it to be compatible with the 2019 version of 1588 or the 2.1. Another sort of recommended practice that we're just sort of in the process of kicking off the project is several different companies have different recommended practices. And unfortunately, they're not all compatible with each other. So company A says one thing, company B says a different thing, company C says something else. And it's very confusing for the sort of end users. So SMPTE's trying to come up with a common set of recommended practices, which hopefully all manufacturers will agree with, and that'll hopefully reduce some confusion in the industry. So looking at the study group report, so we issued this study group report number 2, which is Security in 2059, Threats, Controls, and Mitigation Strategy. There's the link. You can also find it if you go to the engineering reports. So a big part of the report is these threat cards. And so what we came up with is that for each sort of major threat, we came up with these sort of summary threat cards. So each threat card is going to have a description of or a nickname of what this threat is, kind of its category, a description, areas that will affect your system. So kind of the kind of things that'll happen from a security point of view with 2059 is that you might falsely set the time, or the accuracy of your time will be degraded, or maybe you might have a denial of service. So the threat card here will summarize what are the different impacts, a detailed description of the threat. What do you have to have in your system to be susceptible? Because in a lot of systems, say if you're using boundary clocks, you're not susceptible to a lot of these threats. So these sort of say, if your network is designed in a certain way, this threat applies to you. We have some notes here on how to detect that someone is attacking your system using this method, how effective the detection is, and then kind of important is how to mitigate. So what are things you can do ahead of time in your network design or at the time to sort of protect your system. So for each kind of threat, we have these threat cards, and then sort of key one here is this mitigation control section. And also some of these things tie together here. So in terms of the detection, a lot of the detection mechanisms deal with monitoring parameters, and that's where that new 2059-15, the Yang data model comes in, because it defines standardized and consistent parameters that hopefully every device will support. So it makes it much easier for the monitoring system, because we've had in the past where some people have like not present, and then another one has present, and then someone doesn't even have that control at all. So it made it very difficult to monitor. So that Yang model provides consistent names, consistent enumerations, which will help with that monitoring, which is an important part of security. Also in the report, there's a section on best practices as it relates to security, and a little peek into the future. So we may want to do a third study report sometime in the future, and just some of the sort of ongoing work that's happening in the industry. That's basically what's all in that report. That report is available for free, and I recommend you sort of download, take a look at it. So for 2059, here's kind of a summary of where all the different standards are. So everything is basically now at publication, with the exception here of -30. When we were working on the PICs, which I'll cover in a second, we uncovered that we needed to update the version of -30 to the newest version of AS67, because the new version contains a PICs, and we wanted to reference that in the audio PICs. So that document is sort of underway. It's, I said, there's a minor cleanup in one of the sections because it just wasn't, as we were doing the PICs, it was something that wasn't quite testable, and then we're changing the reference. So a very minor update for that. We have 2 new RPs that have been published, -24, which is considerations when you're using 2110 with SD. So when you're dealing with interlace, and I mean, not everyone starts on the same line with their SD signals because you might have closed captioning or stuff on. So we come up with a recommended practice on how does one encode SD content into 2110 so we can do it in a consistent way and have good interoperability. The other new standard, again, it's an RP, not a standard, is -25, which is the measurement practices. So something came out at the sort of various interop events is that not all the test and measurement equipment were measuring the same parameters or measuring them in the same way. So some of the math, some of the corner cases might be a little bit different. So if you looked at company A and company B and you wanted to measure a parameter, you might see some differences. So what -25 does is it basically all the measurement equipment companies got together and they sort of came up with defining, here are standard parameters that test and measurement equipment should include, and also some of the formulas and some of the boundary cases, so that way they both do the calculations the same. So when you look at a number on manufacturer A's test equipment and on manufacturer B's test equipment, assuming they've implemented the RP25 correctly, they also come up with the same parameter or same values. Some documents that we have that are sort of just in the final stages of publishing and hopefully should be available soon is we have the PICs for all the different 2110 standards. So this is a way of manufacturer going through and specifying, do you comply with the standard? So this was something that AS didn't start it, but it's been used in the industries for many years. AS was kind of the first in the media industry. SMPTE, we're now sort of following the AS model, and we have all these PICs documents, which are basically just in their final stages to be published. There's -41, which is the fast metadata expression. It's very close to being published, as well as the 2127-2, which sort of also ties into this metadata here. So those documents are coming soon. And then all the other core documents, they were published in 22. And then one of the changes that we have coming in the industry is A67. There's a new version of it coming. It's kind of in its final or near getting close to its final stages in the AS committee. So nothing too radical there, but just say it is a new document coming. And that's basically it for what's going on with the IP standards.
Great, thank you very much, Lee. It's Randy again, everybody. Well, Lee, no questions came in. We don't have any questions from the audience. So what I'm going to do is put just a request out. If anybody's got any questions, to type them in if you would do that. It's interesting, I'm going to open the floor up a little bit here myself. I wrote down one question before this started, and then David, when he showed the video, there was one scene that flashed by my eyes, and it was interesting that the 2 letters I saw were AI. So this is, I'm going to pose my first question to David around AI. And I'm going to have after that, I'm going to have one question for Lee, and then we'll see if we get some coming in. But essentially, I'm sorry, I should have turned my camera on, everybody. Hello there. So David, if you could comment to SMPTE and AI, and then Lee, the 2 standards, could you give us a sense of just worldwide how much those standards have been implemented now in equipment, up and running, on air? Just to give us a sense of how much it's kind of penetrated the market. So kind of two open-ended questions. David, you first, and then over to you, Lee, and we'll see where it goes. Thanks.
Thanks, Randy. So with AI, that is something very near to our president, Renard Jenkins. And SMPTE is in the process of working on a working group to look at some AI issues and release some statements on that. Additionally, we have a new engineering guideline that we're about to do some pretty broad publishing on across multiple industries that has to relate to AI. So it is a topic that we are coalescing around, really to try to make sure that like with all things SMPTE, it's been given a truly measured and honest assessment of how things are going and how it's being used. So I think you'll see more of that as that working group spins up. And a huge kudos to the standards community who have written this engineering guideline that will be being shared in the next few days. So, and one thing to Lee, the number of places we had links to standards on our website was stunning, and we find new ones every day. The one that Lee was pointing out, we are literally, as we speak, updating every link to take us to the appropriate space on the stores to be able to get to those.
It's definitely work in progress, and it'll get better every day.
Thank you, sir. Because some days I just feel I was always the kid who kept saying, "Are we there yet?" Because I just want it done and accessible for all of you as quickly as possible.
I was going to put a limitation because about a month ago you didn't have old versions of the standard. I was going to say that was a limitation, but when I checked the standard site today, I see you fixed that, so that's good. So
yes,
good to see over the last month it's got better.
So Lee, I think you're now on the seat.
Yeah. So Randy, to your question there. So, I mean, in terms of like you have like your technology evolution, where you have like the bleeding edge, where you have the super early customers, and then getting into the more normal, and then the normal customers, and then the trail end. So I'd say we're kind of at the peak now, where we're past the bleeding edge, where it's a relatively stable and normal technology now. For most new installations, like if you're going IP, you're going to go 2110. Definitely we see like in sporting events and stuff, they were kind of the early adopters. So most kind of sporting type events are 2110, I'd say these days. But definitely sort of stations which are going through major rebuilds and stuff. So I mean, we've done a variety of interops over the years. We've kind of winded them down now that everything's working. But I mean, I can't remember the last one we had over 100 companies and stuff, and all equipment that was working together. So it's definitely now a mature technology. I mean, it's definitely a learning curve. I mean, it's IP based versus SDI. So, I mean, for companies, there is an education that's required, but it's pretty common now.
Thank you, Lee. It was a personal question of mine leaving the industry seven years ago, and thank you for that update. We have had a question come in for you, Lee. He thanks you, first of all, for the standards update. And of course, we all thank you for that. Do you plan to include -43 in RP 2110-25?
I guess that might make sense. I mean, 25 is supposed to cover all the different measurements. So as those other things become more popular, then yeah, we'll probably have to go back and update it. I mean, that was just the 25 was just published this year. So it's part of the SMPTE process. There's automatically a 1-year review. So after the standard's been in the field for a year, we do a review. In some cases, like with DAS 30, we said, oh, there's nothing to fix. So there's nothing to do. But if we definitely find that there's new stuff that's changed or new understandings or things aren't clear, then there's definitely the 1 year and then a 5-year review. So.
Thank you.
And there is a place now on GitHub where you can also submit if you find issues or concerns with the standards, you can also go to the GitHub and submit a a request saying, this is not clear, this is broken or whatever, which then we have in 32NF, we have a document maintenance group that meets every 2 weeks. And we basically process these incoming requests and then assign them to someone to sort of look at and respond to.
Thanks very much, Lee. You did mention kind of the phase we're in now with this rollout. You know, it's kind of past, I guess, that kind of inflection point, right? We're over the hump. David sent a note just saying, to your point on the education, there is a self-study course on understanding ST 2110 that is accessible to members now, and he dropped a link. So if you get on that new website and do a little search, I'm sure you can find it. So I just wanted to let everybody know, my opinion, it's all about education. So SMPTE's, one of its 3 pillars is all about education. I'm glad that there's still, you know, if I wanted to learn anything about video, I just turned to SMPTE first. I mean, my career was in that. So it's just like, it's wherever I went. So it just seems to be the best place. Any more questions out there, anybody? Anybody? We got a thumbs up, which is a good one anyhow.
So Randy, I have a request for folks on that topic of education.
Beautiful.
You know, those of us who work in SMPTE's headquarters office, our director of education, Maya Davidovich, is really smart about putting courses together. But if you have, you know, courses you wish we had, we need to hear from you, because it's so much better for us to put things together that are member driven, or, you know, I can turn and go, no, someone from Toronto has asked for this. You know, I think there's probably an audience, because if one of you is willing to ask, then there's probably a whole many more who would be happy to take it. Whatever SMPTE's history may have been in the past, as an executive director, I'm really big on asking you guys what you're looking for. So please don't hesitate to say, boy, I wish you really had a class on, because that's where we get our best ideas, is from you.
Thank you, David. I have another question. I'm always full of questions. This one is going to be tough. I'm going to pose it to both of you, and I don't even know if there's an answer to it. So if I look at SMPTE as an organization, and, you know, being involved in participating in the industry and everything, I kind of look back, and now I look forward into the future, and I think, what's the next? You know, SMPTE's in this mode of kind of looking at membership and everything, making changes into their second century. What's the next big thing on the horizon that I can't see that maybe SMPTE sees in the direction we're going? So it's a very hypothetical question in that regard. So if you've guys got anything, what's the next big thing?
I think it will surprise us all, because the traditional silos of media have so collapsed on one another. So I was in a meeting recently, and someone started talking about the challenge that esports is having with timing. And, you know, I think that may be a really interesting thing. We've had some other people come to us about now color calibration, because they're asking more pathologists to do diagnostics on screens. And an interesting color calibration. We're still trying to sort out why they came to us, because we think there are other people who should be doing this, but they keep insisting that based on what we've done, we might be the space. But I think the thing that we will continue is where SMPTE from 1917 to 1950 was the Society of Motion Picture Engineers. In 1950, we decided television wasn't a fad and let television come in. And I think that now it's that blend of our impact on so many different uses of media. I think we're going to be surprised by ourselves to see where the next place for us to make our mark comes.
Thank you. Lee.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot to add there. I mean, there's definitely stuff like AI is coming and how big the impact will be. That'll be, I guess we'll wait and see. That could be quite big. Yeah, I mean, it'll be something we're not expecting probably.
Yeah. And here's the comment that, yeah, timing across multiple platforms and networks. I think that is really, when that was pointed out, you know, that was a big one for me to go, yes, I can imagine that would be the thing.
Although we have a lot of that, I mean, with 1588 and it's used in many, many different industries, I think we have that relatively solved in terms of distributing timing around, but I'd be curious to find out more about what their issues is.
Thank you. David, going back to a comment you made about doctors and using photos to make determinations. I find this kind of fascinating. As part of some of my other volunteer work here in our province, in our medical system, I have the opportunity to sit in many panels for many different things and able to comment as a patient in my journey. And I can bring to the table some of my experience from the industry. And I have been telling them that this is the future of medicine. And it's not that you're wrong, Randy. It's we had a lot to do. Because what's happening is what I'm seeing in that part of my journey is that the whole their infrastructures are all coalescing into one or many interconnected digital infrastructures now. This is, I believe, will come part of those actions. And the first thing I thought of was like, I've already said, wouldn't it be great to take that mole on my head and send to my doctor. My doctor looks at it and goes, oh my God, you better go I gotta get a biopsy of that. Or you're okay, it's just, old age or whatever, right? So it's funny because I've always thought that because imaging is used so much in the medical industry, it is a really separate entity. And you're right, there are people there that understand it better. In some research I did, and this is for everybody because I was doing it for SMPTE. I went and looked, who uses SMPTE, and it was really interesting. When you try to do a search out there, I found one engineer in Europe who went to an international symposium, medical equipment, and he had done a presentation in 2019 on using 2110 in live operating rooms. So if you were in an operating room, you could throw in your cameras in SMPTE 10, and anywhere anyone else could have real-time access to what was happening in that operating room. And to me, that's where our technology, the real-time part of it, drops into another industry. So it seems to me the timing. So I wonder if there will be more on that horizon, with this medicine and stuff like that. So I don't know. I've always thought it's an adjacent industry. Maybe there's a veil between us, and maybe it'll come down one day, and we'll get a little closer together. I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
I think that honestly, that as media becomes more ubiquitous in everything we do, we're going to be stunned at the people who are suddenly at our doorstep going, hey, we need your help.
I think so too. Possibly. Yeah.
I believe Buck Moore has a hand raised, it says.
I have just a comment back here. Timing was exactly what I was thinking, across multiple platforms, networks. Just getting everything synchronized. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in, and I'll just leave it to anybody to send any last questions. We'll give it a couple of moments. And I'll take this moment and just give my personal thanks to Lee and David for coming out tonight, spending a little time with us. It's always great to get an update. I'm hearing somebody's asking, can you hear me?
Yeah, Buck has a hand up.
No, I don't think we, can we take raised hands? I don't know.
Yeah, there actually is a way to do that. I think if you go in to the chat, you can give them permission to speak.
Oh, I just got the permission to speak.
There we go.
There you go, Buck.
Yeah, so I just for context, I joined in early 2022 and I presented in the Lowe's Hollywood about sound. And one of my concerns was that well, if Netflix has a standard for LUFS and cinema doesn't really have an absolute standard because of the audio levels are all over the place. With the downstream, which is a question I was asked at the conference, the downstream audio being going through algorithms to turn it into an acceptable level, even though Netflix states it doesn't. Netflix, for one, it's just one example. They don't change the levels. They don't want to alter the mix of the engineer, but they want to make sure the public isn't raising and lowering their volumes, which is something I've been using or I've been working on for years. And so my question about is AI going to just kind of take that over where it's going to determine, I guess we don't know, but we can guess, is it going to determine the absolute levels, or are people going to have a choice to have a dynamic playback or a compressed playback, which we already do in TVs, but just as a downstream, like a streaming option? It was a long, convoluted question.
It was, and it's so going to be answered by Lee and not by me.
Not sure about that.
Yeah, that's a really good question, applying AI into the loudness. I worked in loudness for years, so I understand the problem and trying to solve it. Somebody's written a little bit of a comment here. I'm going to read it out to everybody, and it's to David and Lee. I have a suggestion to explore. AI was mentioned, and I bristle at the term, as I find it an inaccurate branding, and I work within assisting many industries with this. However, when media people speak of AI, they're usually interested in how it impacts content. Great application for SMPTE leadership would be to apply it to monitoring and measuring network topologies. As member communications businesses adopt new ways to move data, they are compiling a lot of data in their monitoring. Having them submit this to a data set to train a deep learning system could provide an amazing tool for the broader SMPTE community to have a tool to diagnose previously unseen challenges. That comes from Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Any comments to that?
Yeah, and that same kind of things that can also be applied to security so that the AI can sort of detect if there's unusual patterns, which would indicate a potential security attack. But definitely, as some of these problems become a little complex, having something that can learn what's the pattern of this is failing in the network, this is not set right, would definitely help.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I'm certainly passing that comment on to Renard and others who are starting to work on this.
Thank you very much. Are we seeing any more hands out there or any more incoming questions? We got a couple of parts. Buck has his hand up again. I don't know how to do it from here myself. Because I'm not, it's the way the screen's set up for me. I'm not sure how to.
I'm unmuted now, so
okay.
Just something quick. I don't want to take up too much time, but I work at a college and I teach filmmaking and sound design. And one of the things, we just had a meeting with the college, and one of the things they suggested about the upcoming AI in this meeting we had to have was about treating it as an assistant rather than letting it take over. That's all I have to say.
Good point. Thank you, Buck. I don't see any other hands out there. Oh, from Lawrence. Will SMPTE provide a guideline to set up, oops, just lost it here. Will
Network
SMPTE
switches.
to set up network switches for ST110 in 2059?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's been several presentations on that. Maybe not always officially from SMPTE, but there's been definitely some that I've been involved with in Arista and Telestream. I said we are working on a new within the 2059 standards group. We are working on a new document to harmonize some recommended practices, which covers that to a point.
Thank you.
My real question, excuse me again, was about now in the AV industry, it's coming up with switches that you can select what the port will be. If it's a Dante port, if it's a QSC port, if it's something else, maybe SMPTE could work with network switches provider and tell them, here's all your setup you have to put into an SP2110 or that, and they just click the down row, click on the port, roll it down, select 2110, and everything's done. QSC, factor, transport, whatever. But that was my question.
Thank you, Lawrence. Floor is still open if anybody has any questions. Well, oh, here we go. I put it in the chat. Oh, okay. So somebody had asked Ryan if he had any more questions, and he's all good. It's all good. And I think at this juncture, what I'll do is I'm going to hand back off to Lawrence, and he's got some things for us at the end of the meeting. I just want to thank everybody for the participation tonight. Thank you.
Welcome back. I'll just go through some of the slide. Here we go. On SMPTE Toronto update. Recording of tonight's meeting will be available on SMPTE Toronto's YouTube channel. Our future meeting coming up in February, we'll have a student meeting. In March, we'll have how AI will change the media industry. Apparently, this will be an amazing meeting, as well as the other ones. In April, we'll have an NEB wrap-up. In May, we're still working on it. And in June, we'll have this TTC, the Toronto Technical Conference for 2024, that we're working on it. So stay tuned, as we're going to have more interesting news. Next, you can today, we have a good reason why to become an SMPTE member, because now you have access to all the library, and you can tell your friends to become a friend. Next, you could find ourselves in the Toronto Section YouTube channel that you can see over there, but you can take a picture or go on our website and find out a link to all our meetings. And you can find all the update information on the website. And also to become a friend, you can connect with us on Twitter and send us email on smptetoronto@outlook.com. So, so for now, it's supposed to come. For now, it's been great fun. Fantastic. I'd like to take David, Lee, Nathan, and Randy for being part of the meeting. And it's been a great pleasure, and looking forward to see you in the next meeting. Take care. Good night.